Welcome to HeartMind-ify. Before we start the show, just a reminder to share, rate, and subscribe to this podcast wherever you're listening to it. And please give us a 5-star rating. It helps us beat the big tech algorithms.
I'm John Izzy. Change can be difficult for a lot of us, but when we understand what makes us tick, we develop a better understanding of who we are and begin a journey of discovering our best self. Join me for a free session at johnizzy.com.
And I'm Kim Cordy, creator of the Emotion Chef Framework, an emotion management tool. Thoughts drive emotions, and emotions drive thoughts, but it's our emotions that drive our decisions and behaviors. Find out more at kimcordy.com.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Knowing each other personally and socially for the past 10 years, Kim and John have joined forces, bringing years of experience and training, providing a platform for growth and personal development, along with a little humor. John is the heart, Kim is the mind, and together they are HeartMind-ify. Hello, Kim. How are you today?
Smoky.
I know, the fire's out there. My gosh, are you okay?
Yes, we have a lot of smoke in the air, and I will tell you, it's kind of getting to my lungs and into my voice, the sound of my voice. At least to me, I sound more nasally. But the fires are pretty bad. We've got in the Bay Area amongst, I can't remember how many fires, but 100,000 acres burning right now. We've got
insane.
two pretty close to us. Yeah. I sent you those pictures yesterday. It was crazy. And that's just
nuts.
like, it's just a few miles up the road.
Frightening, to say the least. It's a reality check. It's like, wow,
right.
Everything that we have could be gone in a quick fire down the road.
Well, the same neighborhoods that were impacted 3 years ago are on evacuation now. It's Atlas Peak is Silverado Country Club where my in-laws live, and Soda Canyon. I mean, they all got it 3 years ago. I can't imagine their houses just got rebuilt.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I hope the best for you and everyone out there, because it really is a struggle right now for a lot of people. So hang in there, and look, if you get evacuated, come east.
Yeah. I'll think about that. Me, Andrew, and the puppies.
There you go. Well, I want to first apologize to everybody last week because we recorded a podcast and we recorded it on Thursday. And Kim and I both listened to the podcast and decided that it just didn't turn out well. So we decided, instead of redoing it right away, to go ahead and just let Saturday go by and record this one. So if you guys were looking for a new podcast, sorry that it wasn't out there, but you will have one this weekend. So, Kim, I've been doing a lot of thinking over the weekend. I've been watching the Democratic Convention.
Me too.
I was doing a lot of thinking about that and thinking about all the groups of people that they're talking about and trying to bring that home to see if what they're talking about has an effect on me personally. And one of the things I came to realization was that we have a very comfortable way of putting people into categories or labeling people, right? We label things all over the place, from the grocery store to our own personal lives. Everything has a label. And my question, I wanted to ask you this question: when is labeling someone or something become a detriment to them?
Let's get to the purpose of a label. I put labels on my files to identify what's in them, right? I've got my deposits, got my accounts payable, all my invoices, or I need a label on a door to know which doctor's office is the right one, right?
Right.
Those are the kinds of labels that serve as information. They're guidance to me.
Okay. So would you say that they are adjectives that describe something?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I guess, yeah, because it's a label. I don't know. I'd have to look that up. I forget all of that crap from when I was in school. But yeah, I would think a label is an adjective because you're describing something.
Okay. Because my thought, and I was thinking about this morning, how do people label me? And how do I label myself? So last night we're in our monthly BACA meeting, and we have four new people that are actually going to be able to be cleared because they did their prerequisite. And everybody's excited for them. We're excited for them. So they have to go through an FBI background check. But we also have to assign them, or they have to assign themselves, a road name, a name that's different than their given name. And we do that to protect ourselves and to protect the children. So our children also have road names as well. So we're coming up with all these different road names for this one guy who can't think of anything. And I left there last night thinking, if we're going to describe him, that's going to be an adjective. That's going to be a word that is going to describe that person. He's still going to be himself, but that label is going to make him known to everybody else as that name. So when does that label no longer an adjective, but now it's more of an identity?
You
Because
mean a noun?
because now I think we run into a problem. See, I don't think labels are bad as long as they are descriptors or as long as they are adjectives. I think they can become bad when they become, like you said, a noun, when they become the identifier. So, for example, if someone says to someone, "Hey, who's that short bald guy over there?" Right? Well, that would be me. I'm short and I'm bald. So, who's that short bald guy? Well, that's me. And I'm okay with that because that describes who I am. But if being short and being bald becomes my identifier for everybody else, now I have a problem with it because that's not who I am. I'm John Izzy, right? Which is also a descriptor. But anyway, for lack of argument's sake.
It's also a label. Yeah, because
Yeah,
when you were asking that, I was thinking of the difference between the physical label is a noun, right?
right,
Because that's what it is.
right.
But the label, meaning the descriptor of what's inside or what's associated to the label, is an adjective, right?
Yeah.
So you're trying to talk about what's that difference to being the physical sticky thing that, or what gets posted on the front of a door, that physical item versus the description that's written on it.
Right. And we talked about this kind of in our last podcast that we didn't publicize, and we've talked about this in the past. I have no problems with people that identify themselves as Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever. I have no problem with that. Gay, straight, doesn't matter to me. But what we do with that information is then we categorize and we group everybody into that group under that label. And now we have a problem. Because if you don't follow the script of what it means to be a certain thing, like a Democrat or Republican or gay or straight, then you're stepping out of that description. And now we got to find a new box to put you in. You're not fitting what everyone thinks you are or what you should be to be in that box. So, and that to me only becomes a problem because that is used now as an identifier of who I am as an individual. No longer is it an adjective saying that, yeah, here's John Izzy. He's an independent. He lives in West Virginia. Now it's, oh, you're an independent. And that means you believe this, and this. And you can't go outside that box because then you're not an independent. You're something else.
Well, John, you're talking
Yes, Kim.
about The lazy brain versus the not lazy brain, the more active brain. Our brain is lazy at heart. It
Yeah.
wants categories. It wants labels. It's like, make this easy for me. If you are blonde, you are dumb.
My computation
Right?
quicker. Yep.
Yes. So there's the picture gets painted, and not even by you, by somebody else paints the picture, and anybody who comes close to it gets put inside of that frame. And that's the lazy brain, because it's like, okay, Republican, this is what Republican stands for, or Democrat. Now we've got some added descriptors: far right, far left, moderates, progressive. So they're
Right.
adding more labels onto the labels just to distinguish themselves, if we're going to talk politics.
Oh, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And I think what happens is we label things and we label people in a way where it's becoming so much that I don't really even know really now what certain people stand for or what they currently believe, because we group them into these categories, and everything that I understand about that category, I say, well, that's who that person is. And it does them an injustice. It does not, you're not respecting the individual, right? Your respect is in the label.
Well, let's just talk a little bit more about that.
Okay.
It's information, right?
Right.
If when you've got a label on a file folder, it's telling you what's inside. So it is informative.
Right.
But what happens is, to me, is that I'm not going to even say to me, this is just a known fact that we've got the in groups and the out groups psychologically. And I've talked about this so many times because I think it's really, really important, is that when you have so many labels that you are pigeonholed in your own self to be a far, here, this will be fun, a far right Republican who's transgender and Jewish and Chinese. I mean that, and you can add on a whole lot more labels, and so your in group becomes a lot smaller, right? If you're
Right.
looking for who you identify with, and it can start to feel lonely. But at the same time, you do need those identifiers. So I like where you were going with this, is that yes, this gives you a general idea of the person, that they are a far right Jewish Chinese person. But the point is that just gives you an idea of a framework, but it doesn't necessarily tell you everything and who they are. And it also doesn't represent everything that I am. And that way you're less boxing of yourself, and hopefully other people don't box you in. So it's getting your lazy brain to not be so lazy.
Here's the thing. The Supreme Court just ruled on sexual orientation into job protections, right? So my thought was that when I heard that come down, my thought was, wow, we've totally missed the point. Because if we didn't label people, then we wouldn't need those additional descriptors in a law that should just be, and oh my gosh, I said the word should, that should just reflect a human person, right? It's like, so now we're getting into the weeds because you're being forced, or I'm being forced to be put into a box that now I have to fight for because I'm no longer a human. I'm now a gay human, or I'm now a transgendered human, or I'm now a Black human, or I'm now a minority human. It's like I'm not, like, human's not enough anymore, right? It's like the government says, nope, human's not enough. I don't know how to break that. I don't know how, because I do it myself too, right? I mean, I'll make quick snap judgments about people based on, what I hear about their labeling. And then I have to catch myself and go, wait a minute, John, you're not looking at them as an individual. You're looking at them as other people see them. Take a step back, knock it off, grow up. I can do that. But how do we get the world, like how do we get other people to do that? It's become such a problem that it's pretty much it's defined our political parties, and which is bad enough, but it defines a lot of things. And I don't know how to stop it. Or maybe it just doesn't stop. I don't know.
If you think about it, there's some pros to it. You've got the ability to communicate a certain amount about yourself without having to say a whole lot. You offer to be the other side of a story, the other side of an issue. I think that there's a lot that comes from that with having these labels. But what I don't like about labels is that everybody assumes they're wrong in labels. Like, if you're this, you're wrong. And that they're not curious about these labels and allow those labels to exist without saying, you shouldn't be here, you shouldn't do this. And which was really going back to the founding fathers. Like, why do we need that law when all men are created equal? And it really should be all people are created equal and have equal rights. And yet we don't have equal rights. So the whole fact that we need these laws to help enforce something that was created in the beginning to give people what these new laws are enforcing, it's silliness, right?
Yeah.
So until you can look at the differences as just differences and not be threatened. And I personally think it has to do with your own security. If you're insecure about yourself or about what you believe, or you need to be so entrenched because it's the core of who you are, going back to your identity, and that anything that threatens your identity is going to somehow make you less than. When you're very secure in yourself, you can listen to other things. You can hear other opinions. You can be something different and not be threatened by it.
Except that it's because of those labels that some people are insecure. It's because you labeled me something, and that makes me insecure. Or I allow that to make me insecure. Yeah.
Yeah, as you know where I was going with that. It's how you view yourself.
Right.
If you can view yourself as, I'm a 57-year-old woman. I'm not young and cute. I could be insecure about growing old. That's all in our head. Who we are and our value and the labels that we assign to ourselves and how we view those labels are the difference. It's not other people's view of them, even though sometimes it is, like when you can't get a job because of your sexual orientation. That's ridiculous. But we have to be confident and be secure in who we are with our labels, because those labels are there because it is part of who you are. It's truths. I am 57. I am tall. I am overweight. I am blonde. I have blue eyes. These are all labels, blonde, blue-eyed, tall woman. That is me.
Yeah. No, I hear you. And like I said, I mean, I think labeling to describe as an adjective, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't care what people think of me or how they describe me. I'm more concerned with, one, how I describe myself or how I am as a person. And am I giving off that information correctly to other people so that they see me as someone who I see myself as? So that's what I try to do. But I think what I do when I'm with a group of people, or I hear people talk and say, yeah, I can't believe what he just said. What's that guy's name? What's his name? You're not going to tell me things about him unless you identify him by his name. And why am I doing that? Some people will say, John, you're being a jerk. And I'm like, no, that person is a human being. It has thoughts. It has feelings. It has a life. You're not going to categorize him based on your label. You're going to put a name to it. And the reason why I think that's so important is if you look at the coronavirus deaths, you're seeing, 170,000 people. And the way that they're talking about it, it's like, yeah, it's 175,000 people. 522 people died today. Read the names of 525 people, and it has a much greater impact than just saying 500 and whatever people have died today. It's like we're putting them into this group that takes away their humanity.
Yeah.
So
it's so true.
See what I'm saying?
And you have really kind of captured the next point I wanted to make, which is we have so many labels that it is dehumanizing, and we've segmented. Not only, I said this earlier, we make our world very small. So when you identify yourself so distinctly, it makes your outgroup huge. And when we identify ourselves more largely, being human, boy, didn't that just change your perspective? Didn't that just change your world to be much bigger? So when you say what you just said about calling someone out by their name, that's melting those labels, even though they're in existence. You're now looking at them as a person. And I like that idea. I think I'm going to do more of that. And if we looked at people as persons and not as their labels, maybe you've just got the key there, John. But now the problem is you got to get other people to do it.
That is the difficulty, isn't it? It's never going to be easy. But what I can offer is simply lead by example, right? When we find ourselves defining someone by their label, think twice about continuing the conversation in generalities. If you're having a conversation with other people and they are talking in general about something, call them out. Ask them who exactly feels that way. What did they say? Suggest for them to be specific. What this does is it's going to force them to be more clear when having further conversations, even if it's just with you. It's still a step forward. Labels aren't necessarily a bad thing. But when we use them to categorize a group of people without listening to the individuals within that group and to gain their broader perspective, then that's when labels become a problem. I don't know, Kim. That's my thought. Do you have anything to add?
Look at it in its totality. You can still come up with that label, and that's a good label, right? Based on it. But to just blanket it is where you have to have your own definition, your own values. You need to understand where your principles lie. And if you do that and you measure everything up against that yardstick, well, then, you're coming from a place where honestly, that is a true statement. It's the issue is when we just blanket it, right? Without knowing facts.
Yep. I can't agree more. So anyway, those are my thoughts for the day. Kim, thank you so much for having this conversation with me.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
And label me your friend.
Yes, you are my friend. All right, everyone. Thank you again for joining us. Sorry about last week, but we're back on track. You guys have a great week. And Kim, bye.
Bye, John.
New shows are available every Saturday right here on HeartMind-ify.podbean.com or wherever you listen. Kim and I would like to thank each and every one of you for allowing us to be a small part of your life. Be kind to yourself, and remember, our hearts tell the story, but our mind is the conductor.